if I wouldn't have been trying to avoid certain things and numb out the reality, if I just would have been better, even though I was young, if I just would have been better, things would have been different. That's how I feel. If you still have your loved ones here, y'all beef and y'all ain't talking, like, you gotta end that, man.
I am an island warrior. Don't you forget, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
Oh, boy. Man, it happened again, man. I delivered I don't even want to say Oscar worthy. I don't want no Oscar, but man, I delivered a great performance just now. I poured my heart out. Felt like I connected the message, only to realize the doggone microphone went dead, so none of the sound picked up. Anyway, it's on the charger, so I don't know how this one is gonna sound, but the theme or the question that was asked that I'm going to answer is, what was it like facing the day-to-day while seeing your mother suffer through the cancer and just being sick, essentially. And I'm gonna say it's tough, and even through venting through the last video, I realized the word that I would use to describe my behavior was one of avoidance. Looking back, I guess I just numbed myself out. And it had an effect on me, definitely, looking back. I didn't know it at the time. I did notice it when things that used to be easy just weren't easy anymore. It felt like I didn't know what it was to not be the best at anything I attempted until about high school. You know, it seemed like the magic meter kind of just went down. And looking back, I want to think that a large part of that was just the avoidance or the reality of what I was seeing every day. You know, I would have to see my mother bedridden a lot, oftentimes. Towards the end, like going to school every day, you know, like made sure I let her know I was going and, you know, said what I said. And it's funny because even the day that she passed away, I do remember that morning. And she usually responds, and I wonder if she was gone then because she didn't say anything back. Either she was sleeping or she didn't say anything. I assumed she was sleeping. But it wasn't easy, man. Even from what I was aware of at the time, it wasn't easy. You know, I didn't even know that I probably needed somebody to talk to. You know, back then, nobody wasn't talking about no mental health and getting counseling and all that. You just sucked it up and, you know, put your best foot forward. But even with things like, let's just use football for an example. I guess I'm always revert back to that because it took up a large part of my life and it taught me a lot of lessons. But even in football, like, when I say man, I was always the best at, I don't feel like I actually got to show my full self because, like, half of my mind was divided. Like, you know, when I first got there, it made a big splash. Like, so much so that they found enough value in me to take me off of JV and put me on varsity as a freshman. Shout out to Trevor T. Smooth. He was the first. And we had that debate. I thought I was, but actually, no, he was. They used to call him up. But, yeah, I was one of the first freshmen to get called up to varsity. And back then, I meant something. No disrespect to the team now, but I'm just saying back then, even more so, because our team was loaded. So that just happened. But then somewhere along the lines, I guess when reality set in a little more, or subconsciously it did, I just began to overthink things and, constantly be daydreaming, or my mind just can't fully escape what I'm about to see when I go home. A lot of times people would say things to me that normally, like, if from what I remember, the best versions of me prior up to that, like, I would have been all over, but you kind of get passive over time because you kind of you're way more mature. Your mind's not even there. Like, oh, this is high school. This is what we're doing. This is supposed to be like a pissing contest, whatever. Like, you're actually competing with me. You think I'm threatening. I didn't like the high school stuff. I wasn't even there. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like whatever. And that carries over because there's nothing wrong with what. I'll even say that when you're not concerned about your mother living, you have the space to just be a teenager, a child. I didn't know this is probably why, or I don't even know if it's a reason, but I always wanted to do things faster. I wanted to find a partner and grow. Boy Meets World messed me up with that probably, but I think subconsciously I knew that my mom was leaving. And I always had, I worked with my granddaddy in the summer since I was like 7, 8 years old. Remember on the base, one of my homies' moms was able to sneak get us into working at the commissary. We had to have been 11, 12. When there wasn't anything going on, I would take our lawnmower and walk around house to house, and if I can get $10 a yard, I was doing it. When it snowed, I would walk around. So I always had to go out and get it mentality. I just didn't realize it was shaping me. Life was shaping me, molding me to be in that mindset, probably because my time with my mother wouldn't be as long as other people get. So, in my right mind, my stern mind, I would say that I don't really have time to really be sad about it or even take time to process. And if I really am hurting about it, to say that I am doing that. I'm working at getting into searching out those parts, because as you get older, you realize you can't move. You can't break through until you deal with those voids. And being young, I guess I felt like I could hold that, I could carry that and still move forward. But when you live a cycle and you see the same things, you're forced to. If you're smart, you're forced to sit down and deal with them. So this is it's not what I thought to do, but this is therapy for me. One thing I think about, we didn't get to have those conversations, man. Like, mama, I'm a grown man now. Let's talk about things. Or even when I was coming up, because keep in mind, she was there. She told me things, but it wasn't the whole her. So even her, she was divided. Things that she would have put her foot down with, or definitely had more input, or even if I could have just came and asked for certain things, it was divided because you grow to not want to even stress her out. You don't want to get no trouble outside of the house to bring that stuff back home, because you don't want to be a stressor. So we didn't get to have a lot of conversations that I would love to have. Sometimes when random questions come across, like, what was her favorite color? I don't even remember that. So I say that to say, if I'm not the person, a few instances where I've had friends, brothers, whatever, and they had odds with their mama or their parents, and I'm not the person you want to bring that to, because I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to go straight for the jugular, and really, it's like, I wish I could pick up the phone and hear my mother's voice. I wish, I really do. So for you to be going at odds or going back and forth or bickering, you need to cut that out. I don't care if she wrong. Humble yourself, 'cause that's your mama. I had to learn the hard way. Like, you don't want to learn the hard way, because if you're not wise enough to like understand why you shouldn't do that in the first place, I doubt you're wise enough to pull yourself out of that hole, that void that you're gonna be in and feel. Lord forbid if something were to happen. And it works both ways with parents too. If you know it's something you could do it. Because Lord forbid something happen. You know, you don't want to go out on those terms. You know, cherish your people. Love your people, respect your people, honor your people. Because it's true, you only get one mama, you only get one daddy. And granted, grandparents, if you have good ones or you're close enough to them, they play a vital role too. Big shout out to my grandmother. I don't know what I would do. Like, that's my battle buddy. We always ever been close. But you know, that's your mama. I don't have regrets, but sometimes I do, like with the mind that I have now and how there's no stone that I can't overturn. I do wonder if and why my mindset wasn't like this. And it seemed like the light bulb just went back on not long after she passed away. Because if I had this mind that I have now, I was thinking in this mindset, I could have saved my mama, man. And I'm such a deep thinker, I be thinking that there's consequences in life. You could do something and you can't do something. And where your attention goes, things grow. So if my attention was more invested in her, who knows? Maybe we could have done something. Maybe that's just unnecessary pressure I put on myself, but these experiences and what that all was like is what I draw. That's what fuels me right now. That's the biggest source of fuel that I have, because I've learned to turn the pain and the voids into literal fuel that I burn off in pursuit of. I'm not saying it's the best thing to do, but it works when it works, because man, I'm if there's something to be done, I'm gonna do it. Like I'm not afraid to start an endeavor. I'm not afraid to stick with it, keep battling, because I remember my mother, even when she was sick, the spirit never changed. Like, her personality never changed. That's one thing I can say. She was never like a grouch box. Like, she never had them days. I honestly, not unless she just did a wonderful job in front of us, because she didn't change. Like, circumstances had changed, and you know, but I can honestly say her spirit never changed, and she still achieved things in that short time frame that she had left. So how dare I waver? How dare I wallow? How dare I create and star in my own pity party? You know, it creeps up at times, but then I remember. And now it's to the point where I don't even have to visualize or, oh yeah. No, it's a habit now, you know? Like, you gotta do all that you could do now, because co-creation can't work with you and usher in the next phase until you fix this phase. And I've seen how life can do you. My mother left behind a lot and did a lot and didn't get to live to see it all the way. So you never know how things could happen. That experience is definitely a big source of my motivation and drive. There are no excuses, man. If that lady could do that, and keep in mind, I think she knew at one point or another that it was terminal. And to hold on to optimism, because up until like the last days, I remember her asking me things as if it was going to get better. Spirit never changed. So how dare I? And if you can relate to this, you have a sick loved one, or you lost a parent, or your parents can still be here. If you know, life, the things we go through, our disagreements ought to bring us closer. If I haven't said it already, if you have some type of disconnect, parent, child, whatever order, like, fix that, man. Fix that. Because to people like me, you automatically, even if it's subconsciously, and forgive me if this comes off wrong, but you automatically come off as childish, ignorant, ungrateful, just a bunch of words that, because, man, let me have moments again with my mother. Like, I wouldn't care if she was like wrong, you know? Like, I can't see myself spending that time in disconnect, like, you know, in dissension. Like, just don't take it for granted. Long story short, don't take anything for granted, any moment. You ain't gonna feel good. You ain't gonna feel good, Lord forbid something happen. You ain't gonna feel good knowing you left stones unturned. You left question marks. You know, you left out on a bad note. You didn't get to ask this person that, because y'all spent periods of time at odds not talking. That's crazy work. It really is. So there's a part of me that wishes that I knew everything that I said in the first video, because I feel like I nailed it the first time, but it happens. It happens. And again, it could be worse, right? So I feel like I've expressed what that was like. It definitely took pieces away from me. I don't feel like I've shown to the people who know me, they haven't really even met the best of me yet, you know? Because ever since then, I feel like I've been running, like just running. Not even being able to fully take in life as it is. Accomplishments, I can't even recognize if I've accomplished. I don't know what that, because I'm constantly on to the next thing. I'm building. She had a book called Purpose Driven Life. I still got it over there. And I cannot open her books. I opened one and saw her writing, and it looked like mine. And I'm not the person who, I talk to my mom and she be telling me. I don't claim that. There's been few times that I feel like, yeah, no, I can't deny that. You know, when I cut my locks off, I couldn't deny that. I feel like I heard her. But that's when I feel like it's real, you know. When people have all these, I felt like, and I'm not saying what people can't be in contact with, but when it's real, they go force it through to you, you know. And I feel like I knew it was her, because I was a person who was like, I'm never going to cut my hair. I'm locked in. I went 17 years. And I was sitting in my car outside, and it just hit me like, it's time. And I knew it was talking about my hair, because, you know, days before that, I started thinking about it, having more visions of me, how I look now with this type of haircut or whatever. And I heard her voice, or a voice like say it's time. And I remember looking up, and I could see, like, I didn't see it, but I felt this picture that I have of her. I felt that. I felt it. And it was told to me then to basically recognize that it had been 17 years that I had lived with her, and 17 years that I lived without her. And I basically heard her in her way of saying things like, did I really make it that hard for you? Because like I say, like, well, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I used to carry some anger towards my mother for certain things, you know. I mean, that's neither here or there, but in her way of talking to me, like, you gonna carry that, like, you gonna hold, like, you gonna be angry about things, like, was life with me really all that bad? Because y'all don't know, sometimes I think so deep on it, I'd be like, man, because I wasn't more for her, or I don't feel like I was, or I was angry about things, did I like force her out of my reality? Like I really be like it's on my heart, because you can't tell me that we can think anything into existence and all of this stuff is on our point of resonance essentially, and that not play a part too. So when I heard that question being asked, I just laughed. Like I kind of laughed like I'm laughing now. It was just like no, because I know for sure that if she was still here, I would have been 10 times. And I'm not even. I'm all right personally, but I know it would have been 10 times the effect if she was still here, because them certain times when I wanted to walk away from this or do that, she probably would have said, well, you don't have to walk away from that because that will lead to that, and you can still do that. And, if I wouldn't have been trying to avoid certain things and numb out the reality, if I just would have been better, even though I was young, if I just would have been better, things would have been different. That's how I feel. So whether I'm right or wrong, the point is, if you still have your loved ones here, y'all beef and y'all ain't talking, like, you gotta end that, man. You gotta end that, man. Don't play with life now. Don't play with life. This thing is really accelerating my clock. I don't even relate to, I relate to people 30 years older than me. So enjoy the moments, enjoy the process. You need your mama. Kids, you need you like that's your universe. Like you can't have division in your universe with your maker, with your creations, and think that you're gonna get the full of life what it's supposed to bring. Cause back then it was just something I felt like I could carry. Now I realize this loop or cycle or things that keep replaying, and I'm doing everything, and it's just like feeling like I should be further along. Like I'm linking into this void that I've been avoiding. Even talking about this is therapy for me, so I appreciate y'all listening. That just comes with age, wisdom, and maturity, I suppose. But you can't go at this thing. You can't go on this battlefield a shell of yourself. And you can lie to people outside of you, but you can even try to lie to yourself, but the survey is gonna say, and it's gonna show you however it has to show you. To me, it seems like I'm on a loop, a cycle in certain instances. Like I've put out more than enough effort. I've built more than enough time. I started and stopped more than enough time. And I'm just about tired of doing that. So I don't want to ramble on, but y'all let me know if you can relate. It don't have to be that your parent is deceased or whatever. Like any situation, a loved one, somebody important to you. Have you experienced something like this? Are you in a position to fix things? Do you still have time? Did any of this like hit home with you? I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments. You need direct contact, hit up the email. If you have direct contact, hit me up. All right.
My every battle's won and the table said it's true. Yeah, it's true. Oh, yeah.